Welcome action fans, and thank you for joining us for a brand new year here at All 90s Action all the time. A new year which will see us shake things up a bit as we are changing format. We will be dropping the season format. Instead, we will be coming at you every second and fourth Wednesday. Well, because I'm here in New Zealand now, it'll be Wednesday in New Zealand, but it'll probably be, if you're listening in the States, you'll be getting a Tuesday. We will also have a new theme, as instead of focusing on specific action stars, we will be looking at specific films from that are celebrating an anniversary, either their 30th or their 25th. So that's films from 1992 and 1997. Also, each individual month will have its own little theme. For example, this month is Chanuary, and I think you can guess which action stars films we will be looking at. It's the two films we'll be looking at this month. So to kick off Chanuary, we have Supercop, or Police Story 3 Supercop, depending where in the world you are listening to this. That's the two titles you'll probably know this film from. Alongside me to talk about the film, I have two great guests. First off, we have regular contributor, a Ghost Waits director, Adam Stovall. Hi, Adam.
If my wife hadn't been arrested by Malaysian police, we wouldn't be in this mess.
You always
Hi,
pick
Scott.
the best quotes. Yeah. It's good times, Adam. It's good times. And we also have a first-time guest in the form of film critic Supremo and the man behind the Last 80s newsletter, Mr. Drew McWeeny. Hi, Drew.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I am very excited to be here talking about this movie.
Excellent. So now on to today's film, Supercop, which was released on the 4th of July, 1992 in Hong Kong, but was not released in the States until a year later in October 1993. And that was a limited release before it got a broader release in 1996, where we got the Dimension Films, a re-edit that was basically on the back of the success of Rumble in the Bronx. It was directed by Stanley Tong, who also directed Rumble in the Bronx and other Jackie Chan films, including First Strike. And it was written by Phaib Ma, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who also wrote Rumble in the Bronx and Mr. Nice Guy, amongst other things. And his co-writer on the film, Lee Wai-Yi, this is his only writing credit. Critically, it is currently sitting at a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 49 reviews, and a 3.5 on Letterboxd. So definitely one of the better rated movies we have covered on the podcast thus far. So, before we get into the movie, as always, I ask my guests about their relationship with the film. So, I'll go to you first, Adam. What is your relationship with Supercop?
I watched it this morning. I had never seen it. I knew Drew was really excited to talk about it on the podcast, and I'm always really excited to talk with Drew. So I said, I'm always down to watch, stuff I miss somehow. And I love Jackie Chan. It's just one of those weird blind spots. So relished the opportunity and thoroughly enjoyed it. Last time we talked, I woke up early to watch Legion and was quite upset about it. Today, I woke up early to watch Supercop and I'm so happy about it. It's a really lovely dynamic. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely better this time.
Definitely a better experience. Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam. I've put you through some things on my other show, Leprechaun in the Hood, and Jason X was you enjoyed that. That's a fun movie. Santa's Sleigh, you hated that. So yes. This is a treat at the end. You've gone through some tribulations, but you're a good friend, Adam. And
it's all worth it.
Drew, tell us about your relationship with the movie.
I I first heard of Jackie Chan when I was working at a video store in the 80s, and some guy came in and asked us if we had Wheels on Meals. And I was like, dude, I think you're saying that wrong. And he's like, dude, I am not. And I was, it was like, okay, well, I got to research this. And that led me down the path of just figuring out who Jackie Chan was. And there was very little of his stuff that was available domestically. It was all import titles. And we had a few things. And so I took the things that we had home and watched them and lost my mind. I couldn't believe what I saw. And nobody else I knew who Jackie Chan was. Until I moved to Los Angeles. And finally in LA, there was enough of a sort of Hong Kong fan culture and tapes being traded and people that I met at both the theater I worked at, the Laserdisc store that I worked at, where I started to see the stuff and the new art started showing things. And so by the time this movie came out, I was revved up. I was really ready. This was a big deal to me when it came out. The idea that it was Police Story 3, especially after Police Story 2, which is, I think, one of Jackie's early, like, home run masterpieces of action. So it really was. It was thrilling when it came out. When Dimension got hold of it, the exciting part was knowing that more people were going to see it. It was also a little bit scary because they were heavy-handed as re-editors. And I knew that whatever got to America was going to be a very different version. It's not that bad. I think the American version is, they cut out a little bit of talking, a little bit of setup, a little bit of the police business at the beginning, a little bit of hard edge stuff. But it's one of those where I'm glad this got the release it did in America. And when it came out as Supercop with the re-edit and everything else, I loved getting the experience of going to a mainstream packed opening weekend and seeing those stunts play with an audience that had no idea what they were getting into. It's one thing when you go to a screening and it's all hardcore Hong Kong fans who have tracked this stuff down because they know what the Hong Kong, industry does, what the stunt industry is there. But it's another thing to be sitting in like the Cinerama Dome and hear people who have never seen that stuff lose their minds. And I do think this has some of the very best stunt work in Jackie's whole career.
Yeah, some of the stunt work in this movie is incredible. Like, this has got to be one of the... It's weird. Like, I became a Jackie Chan fan as a kid. I can't remember the first, like, Jackie Chan film that I saw. It might have been Rumble in the Bronx. I think it...
I wish I'd grown up with him. What a great experience to have him be like a constant sort of cinema influence. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, so I was born in 1985, and so I think I saw my first Jackie Chan film when I was like maybe, because I remember being excited for Rush Hour, so it must have been pre-Rush Hour, so I must have been like maybe 11 or something, so it must be like 96.
Wow.
Or something like that. Because I remember being like, Rush Hour, I really want to see Rush Hour. And obviously that was his big kind of Hollywood breakthrough, even though Rumble in the Bronx is kind of his North American breakthrough, or like more international recognition. But yeah, so I've kind of grown up with him. And so this is definitely one of the earliest films that I saw. And obviously, it was difficult in the UK because, you just grabbed kind of any VHS you can.
Sure.
There was not a lot of it. So you would just pick up random titles. I have a fondness for some random films in Jackie Chan's filmography that don't really get a lot of love just because they're like videos I picked up as a kid. For example, I really like Young Master. Cause
sure.
Yeah, cause I think there's like a 20-minute fight at the end of that movie that I think's amazing. I think it's really one of the best fights I've seen on set. I've watched a lot of martial arts cinema that I really rate it highly. And anyway, so on this film, I think I've always just seen the Dimension re-edit. I'm pretty sure I might have at some point seen the original film. But like you said, I think it's according to IMDb, it's about 8 minutes difference of the film, and like you say, it's a lot of kind of exposition stuff and some of the kind of darker, grittier stuff that they kind of throw in. I was wondering, in terms of, like, what was your initial impression, because you were a Jackie Chan fan, Drew, and you'd obviously seen the previous 2 installments of Police Story. What was your initial impression in the film in terms of, like, it just being like a different, because this is very much like a kind of James Bond style adventure, which is Police Story 1 and 2 aren't.
Yeah, there's so little of, in the earlier Girlfriends, May is such a big part of it, and all the complications that always come with Jackie having to juggle his personal life is a huge part of Police Story and Police Story 2. So I love that there's the one sequence in the middle of this film where finally May comes back in and they manage to figure out how to do it with them being on vacation at the resort and everything. And that feels like a Police Story movie. Mm-hmm. The rest of it really doesn't. It feels like a very different film. And I like this. One of the things that it was a real shift in tone. It definitely is a harder movie than the other 2 Police Stories, which is weird because they both get really violent in places, but I think of them as comedies first in a lot of ways. Jackie did so much work. There's so much character stuff, and so much of Kevin's personal life is absurd and played absurd. And that's what I love about Jackie's films, is the way he can walk that line and throw both of those tones at you and somehow make them mesh. This film leans way more into the action movie, which may be one of the reasons that it felt like the right crossover. Is that mix of tone can be really off-putting to an audience that isn't ready for it or hasn't been prepped for it. This film plays much more like a straightforward action film that's got a few comedy sequences in it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it is probably the easier sell, like, kind of crossover-wise. Because, I suppose, like, it's something I don't think about because I've watched, like, I'm a fan of Hong Kong cinema, I'm a fan of, like, Japanese cinema as well. And, yes, thinking it from a kind of mainstream audience perspective, the kind of switches in tones that often happen in Hong Kong cinema might not sit well with I
think it's the reason that Indian cinema has never really broken through in the U.S. You have to teach an audience how to watch something like that because it is so radically different than the way we structure movies and the way movies work here. And if you don't prep them, you can just bounce right off them, and never find your way in. I think Hong Kong is easier because Hong Kong cinema, a lot of it is they borrow from Western cinema and then they put it through the blender of Hong Kong sensibilities. And so we kind of recognize what's being reflected at us, even if it's a different mashup or a different tone. But I think there's an adjustment for some audiences. And I think this movie, also taking him out of his regular cast of characters, there's not as much continuity you have to worry about. You don't feel like you're watching a sequel so much because you don't have the other cops, except for that one brief scene where they go to the village and they're posing as the mom and the family. But for the most part, you don't have to know anything about the others. And I think that helped too, in terms of just picking this as the moment to plant the flag and go, okay, we're going to really try to break Jackie in the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to be you don't have to know like May's backstory or Uncle Bill's backstory or anything like that. You just have to, kind of, it does feel like a kind of different movie in that way. And how did you feel about Adam as somebody who's never seen it? Or have you seen the first 2 Police Stories?
No, I have not.
Ooh. And you are in for so much good stuff in the future.
You should definitely watch the first 2 Police Stories.
I'm kind of realizing that because I saw Rumble in the Bronx in the theater, and I'm realizing that I didn't watch Supercop because the title turned me off. Oh. It's like the same reason. I mean, I'm just not a big cop movie person. Like,
sure,
I didn't watch Time Cop either. It's kind of a dumb reason, but it's. Cause I saw Drunken Master and like, this is really good. I kind of just forgot it was part of a franchise. Like, it definitely doesn't feel like it is. And I don't know, like I was just really digging the simplicity of it, which it makes sense hearing you guys talk that this was going to be like, okay, let's go ahead and pull him out of this, continuum and see if we can break him in America. Like that makes a lot of sense because I don't know that I would say it feels Western inflected, but like, watching it, there were definitely moments of just like, oh, like Mission Impossible stole this. And, another action franchise that I'm blanking on at the moment, but Bond. Like there's a moment that I definitely was like, oh, I have seen this used elsewhere.
All three of the Police Story movies, I feel like were catalogs for Hollywood action for the next decade and a half, where they just went through and they went, okay, I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. You can use that. I'm definitely stealing that. When you see Tango and Cash, and there's the scene where Stallone stands in front of the bus and it stops, and the two guys coming out the top, it is psycho Hitchcock Van Zandt accurate to the Police Story shot they're ripping off. Like it's crazy how much they ripped them off. So I feel like these movies, everybody was watching these movies, but they hadn't crossed over. And the first two especially, I feel like that's one of the reasons it almost feels like that's why Hollywood didn't break Jackie Chan here. It's like, no, don't tell anybody, man. We can just keep ripping everything off. Don't tell anyone. Just let them be huge in Asia. We'll rip everything off for America. It's great. And finally, it's with this movie, and this was, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first of the dimensions that really got the big push. Well, Rumble in the Bronx, which came after this, was the first that connect, where it feels like Rumble was the big hit.
Yeah.
So, like, from what I read about it, Rumble was the big hit, but like, basically the Dimension re-edit came out in '96, the year after Rumble. Like, they bought it because of Rumble. They picked it up after, because it had a limited release in '93, which is obviously the original cut, but then Rumble hit. And then Dimension picked it up, re-edited it, and shot it out the next again year. And then this also became a bit of a hit as well.
This was I will never forget sitting in the theater when the Dimension one opened and hearing people react to the train scene. Entire train scene, start to finish. And it's one of the most excited rooms I've ever been in. It was like the opening weekend of Jurassic Park when people saw the T-Rex attack. Just the temperature in the room changed because everybody started to get like physically involved in what they were watching. And I just showing my girlfriend who's never seen this movie, she walked through and I said, I have to show you something. I show her Michelle's jump onto the train and she's like, what was that? Right?
Yep.
Right.
Real. I was sitting here in my office when watching it this morning and that happened and I just like had a giant smile on my face and clapped like, oh, good on you. Although, just before that, obviously, but, because when last we talked, we were discussing Legion and we had so many questions about why the hell any filmmaker would filmmake that way. There is a shot.
Yeah, we should probably.
There are many. Many.
Adam, before you continue, we should probably mention that I don't know how much crossover there is between my New Horror Express audience and my all 90s action all the time audience. So we should possibly explain that on my other podcast, I run a spin-off series called the Guilty Pleasures podcast, where we look at horror movies from the 21st century that are kind of known to be kind of guilty pleasures.
You all need to start listening to Guilty Pleasures. I have been through some shit for that podcast, but it's a delight. It is a oral delight. So there's a shot, he's driving the convertible and, Michelle, is thrown from or falls off the truck and he stops the car and steps out, stops out as it's stopping and all the cars behind it stop as traffic and it's just framed so perfectly that it's just one of those things where you're like, God, I love movies.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh. I am, even though I love Jackie as a director, I'm really happy that this particular film is directed by Stanley Tong. I think their chemistry, I think the combination of the two of them, this has such a great popcorn energy. And I think the way Tong shoots the helicopter stuff at the end is brilliant and terrifying and really sells a stunt in a way that very few people sell stunts. He remembers the key ingredient, which is you have to convince the audience that your lead actor is going to die. That is exactly
the shot in Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they just completely ripped it straight off.
Terrifying. It's really terrifying. And I think there's just something about the way Tong shoots. He's got a very elegant sense of how to frame action. I love the fight at the school when he goes and the cop wants to just fight him and see how he is. That fight is hilarious.
Yes.
And casual. And it feels kind of like, here we go for a moment. Let's just kind of casually toss off a moment where you want to see Jackie fight. All right, let's have a moment. And it's in any other movie, that would be the showstopper. And it's just kind of thrown away right here. That's, to me, great filmmaking. And that's how you know that as this thing accelerates, you're going to get everything you want from it. You're going to get all the big money shots, and they're really going to be big money shots.
Yeah. I think, to pick up on your point, to kind of rewind to the start of the movie, like you were saying, Drew, that the first two police stories are kind of almost more comedies first and then like action films. And I think the way this movie starts, like before it kind of really cranks up to being like a full bore action movie with some laughs, it is kind of more comical because like they have that moment in the office where the inspector is like, oh yeah, we should go get James Bond, you know, when they were talking about whether to put Kevin on the mission or whatever. And then the inspector, who in the dub has an incredibly posh English accent,
he does. Oh, I did think, like, did Matt Berry dub this? Like, he sounds kind of Matt Berry-ish.
I'm telling you, I now want Matt Berry to redub everything. Because I would watch those cuts and those cuts exclusively.
Yeah.
No, that would...
I hate dubs, but if Matt Berry's doing it, I'm lining up.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, and I think I think one of the things that is interesting in this movie, we have returning cast clearly, but to me, the addition of Michelle Yeoh is so exciting and does so much for Jackie. He's so good with her. Mm-hmm. And she is, I love that over the course of his filmography, he's constantly introducing new younger actors. And I think he does a really good job of not dominating the film when he introduces them. He gives them room to actually shine in the movies where he kind of showcases them. And in this movie in particular, he sets the stage for her to just be a movie star. Yep. And it is terrific. She's great in this entire film. She's funny. She's stunning. And oh my God, beat for beat, she matches him on the action front. She is just as much fun to watch. She's just as crazy. You really get the feeling she's putting herself in danger when she throws herself into these scenes. There's a beat when she steals the motorcycle that she jumps onto the train. Just the way she jumps onto the motorcycle, I'm like, I want 50 movies with her. I want 50 movies with that person because she's so cool.
Yeah. And like you say, even on like a character level, like right from the get-go, she really leaves an impression. And like, there are some movies in Jackie Chan's filmography, particularly the kind of Lucky Star movies and stuff like that like the sexism in it is problematic. But like, at least in this movie, the sexism, like Michelle Yeoh gets to shut it down immediately every time, you know? And really put him in his place. You know, and he's like, oh, the head guard of heads of security of China is like an attractive lady, and she just, you know, like she's just having none of it, and just
is not charmed. No, there was one specific beat that I particularly enjoyed, like I said, I really enjoyed the entire experience watching this movie. But when Jackie swings into the window and then the shutter closes and Michelle hits it and falls and he opens the thing. And like, this is a metatextual read, but like, I just watched a really not good movie yesterday that was like, has me thinking about the vanity of movie stars. And it's such a really wonderful distillation of both the humor in Jackie Chan's work that he is always simultaneously looking for action beats and humor beats, but then also that like Michelle Yeoh matched him for charisma and star power right off the bat. So that like, it's weird, but like that moment doesn't read the same if it's just some actor. Like it really, but the fact that like, the fact that it's another movie star hitting like makes the moment so much more than it otherwise would be.
It's a buddy movie. She is an equal. She is not his sidekick. She is not his subordinate. It's a buddy movie. And I think that's casting. I don't think it was necessarily designed that way. I think she just showed up and was her to such an extent that she's not anybody's second place. And it makes the movie electric. That's one of the reasons I love this film and his filmography.
Yeah. I have a question about that. Okay. So, cause there's the moment in the village, which is really delightful when Jackie has no idea what's happening. People are just like, hey, it's me, your uncle. And she just she's walking up there, or the picture's there with the two of them. And they're like, oh, is this your wife? And she walks in like, brother. And if they had gone with wife, then you have them being romantic towards each other and it becomes maybe much more Western. I really don't know about what was happening. But like the choice to make them siblings and not have any of that undercurrent. And I mean, they never have, their chemistry is so specific. And again, because I didn't know about Police Story.
May's moment of jealousy is so short-lived because the movie can't play that. The movie can't play any tension in romantic misunderstanding and it's not interested in it.
Right.
I think even the moment where she massages him is all business and it when May's trying to see his face, there's never a moment that you think there's going to be sparks and terrific. How much fun is that to watch compared to the easy version of this?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the reasons that he's
just to interject, we should put like massage in quotation marks. She kind of begrudgingly pummels him for a second.
And she kind of rests her fists on his back for a moment, pushes his face into something. It's not a massage at all.
A massage in name only. I know.
Yeah.
Have we started the movie yet?
I mean, technically we have.
Okay.
Basically, I have made the decision based on another podcast that we did, also on the Guilty Pleasures show, on Club Dread, that I've kind of given up on like doing it strictly chronologically. I feel, it's reached its limits, and so we're kind of bouncing back and forth.
Okay.
We will talk about the main plot of the movie soon.
Okay. Well, I think the movie's got a really simple but smart. My thing is, you can't do complexity in plot and then complexity in action, and I think have both work. If you really want the movie to scan for an audience, keep it very simple, and then you can make the action scenes within that as dazzling as you want. And so I love that it's just, you got to get this bad guy's trust, escape from prison with him, take him where he needs to go, do what his boss needs, catch him. Okay, very simple. I get all of that. And then within that, they managed to just spin so many little complicated set pieces. I just love watching Jackie run up that hill as they're trying to escape from prison, and just, it's the most painful run I think I've ever seen in my life. It looks excruciating by the time that car reaches the top of the thing.
Right?
He's still chasing it. Yeah, horrible.
watching that, I was just like, I love the fact that like dispatching 7 people is no problem, but running up a hill, but it's just, but they do make it look, because I mean, it's shifting underneath their feet, and it's just like, that looks really hard.
Straight up. It's straight up. Yeah. Just catch the car, man. Catch the car. But I love that escape, and I love that Panther pretty much buys in from the beginning, and they are so good at spinning the plates to keep him believing things. And it's ridiculous, the world, like, I just accept that the guy's name is Panther. Let's go. Okay, we're all looking for Panther, and then Panther's going to take us to, Chibot. And, okay, great.
I really like your point about, Drew, about the, like, you can't have complexity in plot and complexity in action. Because I very much feel the same way. Because like looking at like some of the kind of the best kind of action movies of the last kind of like 10 years or whatever, things like Mad Max Fury Road and The Raid and stuff, like they have very little in plot. It's very bare bones, but like,
Miller's a real believer.
Like incredible.
I wanted to zero in on the same point. Because when you said that, it rings immediately true. Because yes, Mad Max Fury Road's plot is get her. But like, my immediate thought was No Time to Die would like a word. And it's like all the like the last, Skyfall.
I think they dress it. I think they dress it up. I think the Bond films are, and it's one of the reasons that some people have trouble with the Craig films, is I do think when they try to disguise how narratively simple they are. Like Skyfall's really a crazy ex-employee tries to kill an old lady.
You're right.
That's it. Yeah. That's all Skyfall is. But they hide it under the Dark Knight. They, dress it up and they try.
Yes.
And so he's the Joker and he's got plans and there's wheels within wheels, but he really just wants to kill an old lady.
This is where I betray perhaps my hottest of all takes when it comes to Bond, which is I may be the only person who enjoys Quantum of Solace for its simplicity.
I think it works better than Spectre, and I think it works narratively just as a really lean companion to the film that came before it, which is both a problem and a strength. If it had a better villain, I think it would pay off.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's super fair.
Casino Royale 1.5. So it's like a bonus scene that just goes on for a really long time.
Hey, how is the sound quality on your end, Scott? Because it's kind of breaking up on my end.
I resume. Well, we're going to go back to Supercop because I'm going to stay quiet about Quantum of Solace, which I think is one of the most boring Bond movies ever made. So that could be a whole conversation.
You were the second podcast to shut me down talking about Quantum of Solace. Nobody wants to talk about that movie. Okay, fine.
This is about Supercop, damn it, Adam. I have, I'm too invested in Bond. It could be too long a conversation. It'd be too long a detail.
I think James Bond is like religion and politics. It's one of those conversations you don't get into unless you're willing to throw punches. You just know.
I love you, Drew. That's wonderful. Oh.
I would need to have a separate Bond podcast to thrash this one out. Like that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Well, I'm ready and waiting.
Okay. Whenever I add a third podcast, or technically, is it a fourth? I don't know.
That's a really good point. Because it's a very simple. It's a thing that I actually checked the time because once he was on his way, I was like, we're 7.5 minutes in, and the mission, everything's very clear.
Yep.
It reminded me of being 12 years old making movies with my friends of just we go over there. Okay. I love this.
I love Michelle's first big fight scene in the, when they go to that village and everybody's pretending to be the relatives and then they're getting arrested and she finally jumps in and goes into action. You get a sense right away of just how precise she is. That's one of the fun things in this movie is Jackie, and he's loose-limbed and he's hilarious and he manages to be funny within the fight and use it. She is super precise. She is crazy, focused in these fights. I immediately entertaining. And I think, each of the fight scenes leading up to that, is entertaining. It's hard. Some of these movies do not, I don't think, do a very good job of building in size from fight to fight. This is one of the better ones in that each of the set pieces feels like you're ramping up a little bit.
Or you mean from the fight in the restaurant, and then they get arrested, and then Michelle comes to the rescue and does that
I love her outside
kick, and then it goes into another big fight. Yeah, I think that ramps up beautifully.
I appreciated when they're in the village and Jackie is completely duped by Uncle dressing as his mom until Uncle Clark Kent's him and reasons his glasses. He's like, oh, okay. But then you go to the boat and they slide underneath, and then there's the reveal of there's a boat underneath the boat that they're going to take off on. But for a moment, it's just are these cops going to get on there and not? And then they just immediately they're like, oh, these are false panels. And it's like, okay, so maybe Supercop isn't heavy on deduction. Other police deduce.
I love go back to that big fight. After Michelle Yeoh rescues them and starts beating people up. I love how when they run out of weapons and stuff like that. There's that one beat where Kevin just throws a bunch of chopsticks at a guy, and it was well, it worked. He ran away. Yes.
I also like that she throws chopsticks to keep the guy from getting his gun, and he recoils in fear. Such is the velocity of Michelle Yeoh throwing a chopstick.
Yeah, Jackie just throws them. She is deadly with them.
Yes.
Yeah, no. She is skilled. She is a master of the weaponized chopstick. Where yes, he just grabs a bunch of them and just throws them out.
Only one of them went on to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I have no questions why it was that one.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie just throwing the sticks at people,
Now I'm imagining him a red buttons of chopsticks, just walking around with a bucket, chucking them in the sky into the air.
I really like narratively. I like how she is as quick as Jackie in terms of how to modify a situation, how to take advantage of a situation, the fake killing of the security officer so that she can join them.
Yes.
And to have, and now Panther trusts them. Just the fact that she immediately realizes, okay, great, here's an opportunity. And then, I think that's part of the pleasure of this film is there are Jackie Chan films I watch waiting for action scenes, and the stuff between them can be rough after you've seen it once or twice or even the first time. But this is one of those where I enjoy everything about the characters too. I really love the fact that the way this thing is built and the way they're constantly winning Panther over to them. And yeah, she's terrific in that scene.
She acts that she fires it off, but then when they get away, she has that moment against the wall where there's are you okay? What's wrong? And she's I killed someone. She's shit. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also like you said, Adam, it's often shown that Kevin is not the brightest because there is that beat just after it where he's you didn't actually kill that guy, did you? And she's no. And she says it in that way of no, of course not, you idiot. I'm a professional. What are you talking about?
Oh, Kevin.
No, buddy, it's cool. Yeah.
It does make me want to watch the rest of the series just to see that character with outside of this context.
I think you'll really love the first two. Yeah, you'll really love the first two. They are both just terrific films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the whole, their whole chemistry together is great. I love when they're on the boat and they're kind of squabbling siblings and they're just slapping each other about. It's just very funny.
Yes.
And it's for her, she is, I looking at her career at the time, like this was one of those moments where I feel like an actor realized what they were doing. A lot of times you don't have agency in Hong Kong. You are in the system, and it's just what you're offered and what you can get. And like, she truly feels to me like somebody that saw this moment and took full advantage of it. And it's the reason she is the movie star she is now. Like, a lot of young actors have moments like this. Very few of them take it and run with it this way. Pure charisma, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing in this role, and like you say, it absolutely makes it. She is on par with Jackie throughout the movie. This is a buddy movie, and yeah.
You look at how quickly they started just making vehicles for her after this. How they knew right away.
Well, yeah. Rather confusingly, in franchise terms, this movie has a sequel, a spin-off sequel, Supercop 2, which is just her. Jackie Chan and I think Uncle Bill like have cameos, but like it focuses on her. I've not actually seen it, but I'm aware of it.
It's okay, but yeah, it's just right away. I think very few of Jackie's co-stars, I think, got launched quite this hard, quite this fast, and there's a reason. Like this performance-wise, she just eats him alive in most of this movie. Yeah, it's rare. It's rare to see a movie where, because I think he is on fire. This is the middle of his big run of just everything he's doing. The Project A series, the Armor of God series, the Police Story series. I feel like this is Jackie at his absolute prime. And it really is equivalent to Schwarzenegger or Stallone casting somebody and then just kind of standing back for most of the movie going, good God, look at that.
I recall hearing stories about like, well, there's the iconic one of Gregory Peck on the set of Roman Holiday, like calling the studio and saying, you really need to put her name up above the title because this is going to look ridiculous if you don't. And then Richard Gere talking to Gary Marshall during Pretty Woman of just like, I don't even have to do anything.
See, and that's I wonder, because I don't know if Jackie, or if it's a thing where then the movie comes out and you look at it and you're like, wow, oh my God, look at what we got, look at what we bottled. Mm-hmm. I have no idea if on set he realized I may have met my match, but it certainly feels like Stanley Tong knows what he's doing and knows what he has.
Yeah, very much so.
I think we should also mention that the other characters are pretty fun as well. Like the villain characters are pretty fun too. Like,
I think very well drawn, very well played.
Yeah, Panther's played by Yuan, who's like in a bunch of Hong Kong movies and everything. He's been stunt coordinator and loads of things. You know, like he's a great character, and you know, like you say, kind of trusts Kevin immediately. It just takes it on red that is like, oh, this guy saved me, so he is my friend. But he has some fun moments, you know, particularly like when they're on the boat and then the police are coming to capture them, and then they escape on the speedboat. And I just really enjoyed watching that scene of them escaping on the police boat as Panther laughs maniacally just as they escape. Love it.
And I think Kenneth Tsang, he's another one of those guys who I love him in like Peking Opera Blues and Better Tomorrow movies. He's another guy who's had just a huge character actor career who, the moment he shows up as Chibot, he's great and brings real weight to it. And they're cartoonish bad guys in this movie, which I think is part of the Police Story series. Everything's very broad, but I think perfectly calibrated. Like Jackie can go too broad in some of his comedies or in some of his bad guy characters. I love these guys. I love the way they're played.
Yeah, yep. Chibot and Panther are great, and like, this is the moment where it kind of becomes more of a Bond movie. Like, the speedboat escape feels kind of Bondy, and then definitely it feels very Bond when we get to Chibot's place, which seems like a kind of Bond villain lair. And Chibot, we should mention as well, is wearing the classic Bond villain getup of a Nero suit. So, like, we know...
Yes. The really
man,
does change, like, once they get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how they just sit around and watch. They just sit around and watch him play video games, and it's like really bad Atari level video games.
I know his brother just got broken out of prison, and he's like, "I'll be with you in a second. I'm playing Sega Genesis."
Yeah, and I want to watch the boss play Sega Genesis because it's awesome. Yeah, weird beat, man. Weird moment, Panther.
Yeah, it is a strange moment.
Yeah. He's clearly very concerned about his wife.
Clearly. I love how it's kind of portrayed for a second that he's like a kind of genius villain and it's like, immediately sees through, like Jackie and Michelle. And it's like, they're obviously cops, you idiot. But then it actually turns out it's just a test. And it's like, oh no, actually, I love you guys.
You couldn't be cops.
You couldn't possibly be cops. You handed me this empty pistol.
Would a cop wear shoes like this?
Oh dear. And
I don't totally get to the meeting.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So, like you said, there is some broad kind of cartoonish villains. We get the drug dealers conference in a kind of Malaysian jungle.
I love that conference so much.
It's like a full, like this is not so much Bond as it is like Naked Gun. That is
yeah. It really, like, it's, if you took that scene from Dark Knight where, they're all gathered around and then the pencil trick happens. But like, yeah, it's just, it's so silly and it makes no sense. Like when they're talking, they're like, all right, you've got this and you've got half and you've got half and you've got half and there's this half over here and then 3 million tons. You're like, how much fucking drugs are we talking about? Like I'm trying to keep track of the math here. And like, it's early, but I've had coffee.
It's a lot of drugs.
They're so delightful. Cause it's almost like a childish understanding of crime.
Very much so.
And, so you think like, it's not that the stakes are low, but like it keeps the tone kind of light. And then everyone dies. Oh, I loved it so much.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like, and just the pinball of the conversation of just like, hey, I've done this and, you're not gonna edge me out of this. I run this place. And they're like, well, someone here didn't pay. And it's like, okay, well, admittedly, that is me. I did not pay. But if you're trying to use that as an excuse.
Yes.
Like, don't you try to undermine my criminal empire by pointing out my debts, my unpaid debts. Yeah.
I love Chaibat's kind of reasoning there of like, yes, I am the one who didn't pay, but I do have all the money. However, the money is all in a Swiss bank account. And if we can just break my wife out of jail, I could buy all of you. And it's like, what?
Also, you are entirely surrounded by my gunmen. So there is one answer.
Yes, I have men with rocket launchers, for some reason, completely around the perimeter.
I think once the story reaches this point in the middle of the movie, it kind of turns into yes and for a little while, where it's and then my wife, then we're going to break her out of prison, and then you're going to see it kind of does that for a little, which is fine because it's like each one is just an excuse to kind of show off a little bit more of that chemistry and show off a little bit more. But yeah, it doesn't have a real clear line where you're going through for a little while.
Yeah.
It's a bit like... Oh, sorry. Adam, you go.
No, I'm just like, it's such a good educational moment for like, for a filmmaker to just, it doesn't matter. As long as you care about what, like, our characters or you care about the characters, like, it kind of doesn't matter. Just like, just get through it, like, live somehow. Like, it doesn't matter if we can't follow it. You're fine. The best piece of writing advice, I think at least screenwriting advice I've ever been given. One of the guys who wrote Unknown, that Liam Neeson movie, I covered it for the creative screenwriting, and he said, you just have to remember that this is an emotional medium. Like, you can give the audience all the information in the world, but if you don't give them a reason to care, it's all for naught. And yeah, like, you just always have to have your eye on the emotion, you know, cause like that's what's going to get the audience through the movie. And then at the end, it's like, oh, right. Like, this is a plot hole or that's a plot hole. And like, you know, YouTube can go to hell in that regard, but, you know, cause YouTube lives to,
like fuck all that.
Yeah. But like, it doesn't matter. It's didn't Hitchcock call it like the sandwich test or something? You know?
Yeah. If you're making a sandwich later and you're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact that this movie, it's like, it has simple goals, and each time it reaches one of those simple goals, it puts it to bed. And then it just sets a different simple goal.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, get from here to here, get from here to here. And I think it does that so well. I think it's got such great energy. And that's what I mean by comparing this to some of the other Jackie films in terms of why this feels like one of the moments that they really wanted to bring to an international audience. He just had gotten to the point where I think he was so good at the Jackie Chan persona. He had that honed to a fine art. And I think Tong took full advantage of it in this moment. And I think it's such a simple film to grasp. I don't think you have to have any localized knowledge. I don't think you have to get anything about Hong Kong politics. I don't think you have to get anything really about. So it's all just jailbreaks and bad guys and drugs. And man, that's international language. We all understand all of that very simply.
Yeah. Aside from like the one tossed off line about like, you know, oh, it belongs to the Hong Kong government. Oh, it belongs to the Chinese government. Oh, it belongs to the people. Like, oh, it's 1997. We can play well together. Just like,
oh yeah,
sure.
Clock was ticking on that. So that's a reminder of when this was made. That definitely pins this down to a moment.
There is a kind of real, you know, if you're thinking about the kind of politics of the time, there is a real kind of propaganda element in this movie. Of kind of like, oh, we're going to be friends with the Chinese again. This is, you know, you know, like,
I mean, good luck making a movie called Supercop that doesn't have any propagandic elements.
Yeah, no, there is propagandic elements in terms of cops, and there's propagandic elements in terms of like diplomatic relations with the Chinese.
Yeah, the Hong Kong China. Yeah. I think there's a whole, like, you could seriously just set a framework for that countdown to the Hong Kong reunification and set like a decade's worth of movies and their anxiety against it, because it's such a weird, constant dread that I think you're either reacting by saying nothing's wrong, it's all great, we're going to be friends, it's going to be fantastic, or you're reacting the other direction. But yeah, it's omnipresent sort of, especially in these moments.
And to go back to kind of the point that we were discussing before, the tangent of geopolitics, Chris McQuarrie talks about like one of the things that he, like when he started doing Mission Impossible, that he keyed into, or that he struggled with until he keyed into, was no one packs a bag in Mission Impossible. Like, nobody goes to this to see the logistics of world travel. All you have to all you have to do is put the word Malaysia on the screen, and then just they're in Malaysia, you know. And it's strange how much we like just kind of accept, but then you watch a movie like this, and it's like, yeah. You know, like, it doesn't really matter. Everybody knows how you get to a place, you know, and I mean, I wasn't even always clear on where they were going, but it was just, all right, like, well, they seem to know what they're doing, so I'm here.
Yep.
The movie is just Hong Kong, China, Malaysia. That's
yeah, right. Yeah. With one stop in Wuhan.
Which is in China.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, I wasn't being contrary. I was just, I feel like watching it before last year.
Right, yes. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yes. It kind of rings differently now. Right enough.
That jumps out a bit more than it used to.
Yeah. I suppose because I've seen the movie a few times. Yeah.
Do we not know why Chaibot's wife is in prison?
No, I don't.
They say conspiracy against the state or against the country, but I don't think they ever say specifically.
That is awfully vague, man.
Yeah, right? I thought that too.
It's weird because we get a scene of her trial, but we still have no idea what she's really being put on trial for. Although, I really do enjoy the moment. There's a very fun comic moment where Chaibat, cause, obviously he's a villain, so he's a shithead. He sends a man to be like, hey, can you give us the Swiss bank account codes? And the wife's like, hell no, that's not going to happen.
Also, another one that I really love is when they get there and he's like, that's the courthouse. And I think it's Jackie Chan that says, is there a reason we need to know that? Like, it's an actual line of dialogue. Do we need to know where the courthouse is?
I love that more in movies where there's a bit of useless exposition said and then somebody's just like, and? What?
Yeah. It's like in the less than good movie I saw yesterday was Rambo Last Blood. And there's a moment in it where cause he is indecipherable so much of that movie. Like he has got that Stallone gravel voice going. And at one point a character just says, what? And it made me so happy. It's like, yeah, man, I got the subtitles on. Like, I don't know either.
The subtitles just say, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes like, I'm not paid enough for this.
Yeah, because he is like doing like the full bore Stallone thing in that movie. Like, at least in some other more recent, even in the Expendable films and stuff like that, and you can kind of understand him. But like in Last Blood, I'm not even sure he is saying lines of dialogue. In that movie, he's just...
It's like, did Coogler have him selling seashells down by the seashore? Like, he's so understandable in Creed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he can be understandable when he wants to be, but like...
Yeah. Anyway, that's another movie we're not here to talk about.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about Bond or Rambo.
That's in our new podcast, Bond and Rambo. 24/7. Rambond.
Ooh, man. Now you gotta do that. Sorry, now you're obligated.
A very, very niche audience, but boy, they'll be loyal.
This is why
I just want to be on the episode where we talk about I just want to be on the episode where we unpack the global politics of Rambo fighting alongside the Taliban in Rambo 3.
Oh, yeah. Rambo movies famously age well.
Oh, yes.
I don't like the idea that people keep wanting me to do podcasts about movies I don't like. But I do see the merit. Anyway, we're in Malaysia now.
Okay. So where are we at in the movie? We're in Malaysia now. We're in Kuala.
We're at the resort.
We're at the resort. Yep. We've talked about the pummeling massage. We've already covered that. We kind of covered the kind of classic police story May misunderstanding. That is the thing that makes it feel most like a kind of police story movie.
Right, that's the moment where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a police story sequel. Yeah. That's right.
And then we get some hilarity around the hotel staff and Panther and a bunch of other people mistaking May for a hooker. Because,
obviously. Jackie's gender politics, you give with the one hand with Michelle Yeoh's character, you take with the other with the May storyline. So yeah, it's like, oh man, yep, there we go.
Yeah. And then we get out of that and
I will say, because this occurred to me a couple times during it. Like you have the moment early on when Jackie says, "Oh, the head of security is an attractive woman," and then later on when Panther assumes that May is a prostitute. And then there's something later on. There's like an early moment between, Kevin, I should say, and Panther. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in the Midwest and the South, and one of like my chief complaints about that is that I was constantly like other straight white guys were constantly assuming that I was having the same lizard brain thoughts as they were. And so lots and lots of guys have said truly reprehensible things to me, like expecting agreement, you know, like, oh yeah. And it was a thing that I kind of liked about the character building. It's just like, you know, he uses that as like, this is not a good thing to think. Like, this is not correct, you know, because this person who is a rampant murderer and who knows what else he has done, like, thinks this. And so it is clearly the wrong thing to think. Like Kevin Smith used to get in trouble with, for this because, especially in Chasing Amy, he's like, oh, but Jason Lee's character is the fool. Like he's saying all these things and he's the fool. And it's like, right, but he's also the most fun character in the movie. Like it's the Always Sunny problem of like a whole lot of people are going to agree with you and not get that they're doing it wrong. And I kind of appreciated that. Like I actually thought the morality of the movie was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there is other Jackie Chan movies where the gender politics are, like I said, are more problematic. But like the sexism in this movie tends to get shut down, or even like in a kind of bit on the boat.
Oh, I think it's buffoonish,
like
definitely.
Yeah. You know, even that bit where he's like, oh, this stupid woman's giving me lip kind of thing. And then
that's it. That's exactly what it was.
Usually bites back. You know, so there is a kind of clear morality here of generally sexism is punished in this movie, you know? So,
like nobody comes out of this movie wanting to be Panther.
True. That is very true. I honestly don't, I mean, that is a whole different rabbit hole because I don't understand how people can watch certain things and be like, oh, I want to be that. I don't understand how people can watch The Wolf of Wall Street and not understand that clearly Martin Scorsese hates that character. Like, I don't, but anyway, like, I just, again, that's a whole different rabbit hole.
I was also going to say,
sorry, real quick.
Also, go ahead.
When you guys, when you watch the Netflix thing that I'm about to release, that's what it's about. It's literally about the idea that I don't give a shit about liking characters in movies. I'm more interested in interesting characters in movies. And I truly, I'm not there to get a moral lesson. I'm there to be interested and entertained and engaged. And so, it's a huge sticking point for me.
So, and I apologize if this tangent, whatever, but like, so I'm currently working on a script with somebody and it's a vengeance script. And A Ghost Waits took me 5 years to make. And because I haven't made another movie, even though I know in my head that it's not going to take 5 years to make every movie, I also hear enough stories about people who spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you know, trying to make like the Vonnegut doc that just came out, like that took forever. And I was kind of approached about a few things, like, you know, at one point I was approached about a slasher movie, or slasher trilogy. And I was just like, I don't think I can live in that space. Like, this is a very intensive process. And as we've been working on this vengeance script, I've been thinking a lot about the morality of it because, not everybody, you don't go to the movies for a moral lesson, but morality does exist. And,
of course. Of course. But I don't think you as a filmmaker are immoral if you show an immoral thing. I think you can be highly moral and show an immoral thing.
Yes.
I don't think one necessarily precludes the other. I think it's all context. It's all, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just using like Wolf of Wall Street as an example, like that shows immoral things, but has like a very moralistic tone of like, these people are bad. These people are shitbags. These people are fucking you. And like, you know, like you should hate them.
It is startled that world exists. That entire movie is, can you fucking believe this?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Can you fucking believe this?
That is what the movie is saying.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's, as someone who thinks wealth is gross, I love that movie.
Yeah. It's great.
So much.
But yeah, I love the May stuff. I genuinely love her in this entire. I love every time she appears in this series. I'm sorry that this is the last time she's in it, but I think Maggie Cheung, like, terrific, great comedy actress, great dramatic actress. She's pretty wonderful. So, and of course blows it, and of course then blows it after she manages to keep everything fine. She blows it.
Which I think is her finest comic moment in the movie. Like, she is so cool. Like, she sees Panther behind Kevin. She understands the game. She knows what's going on. Kevin's on official business. She's got to play it straight. So she slaps him in the face and pretends to be the hooker that Panther thinks she is. And then immediately she gets in the lift and is so proud of herself, just starts blabbing away and gets herself kidnapped. It's amazing.
That is cinema. Because, like, she gets into that elevator and she starts talking and you're like, well, there's definitely somebody in there. But, in the frame, it's just them and some white people and, it's just them and tourists. And then people get out. By the way,
he's very good at the reveal with a camera reveal in this movie. For comedy effect. The cactus that Jackie jumps into, the stunt at the end where you don't know where he lands and he tilts up to it. He loves the tilt reveal to get a comic laugh at, to get a reaction out of you.
Yeah. It was so, like, you even knew who it was going to be, kinda. Like, cause there really could only be the one guy. But it was just so well executed. Oh, it made me so happy.
And pretty much once that happens, the movie gallops.
Yes.
Like, that's one of those movie moments. And especially for movies that I rewatch, I remember when I was a kid and I would go see Raiders of the Lost Ark like 17 times while it was playing in theaters because I was a lunatic. And I got to the point where I knew certain moments I'd like get comfortable in my seat. Okay, here we go. Here it comes. And the rest of this is going to be nuts. And that's what this is like. The moment she blows it and gets kidnapped, you're like, the rest of this movie is buckled in, and it's great.
It's such a matter of rhythm too, because like you have to know what the audience is doing, because the moment it shifts to reveal the dude in the elevator, as an audience member, you're just like, well, there it goes. Mm-hmm. And it is off to the races. Like, it knows exactly what it's doing. This movie was not made up by accident.
No, absolutely not. Because, like, as you say, when it's revealed May has been kidnapped, and then, basically one of the henchmen phones up Panther, informs Panther that Kevin is like a detective, for the Hong Kong police, and then after that it's just action set. The plot has ended. We
don't even get the confrontation. You know, it's just remain calm as I tell you this. They're police. And then it just cuts to he's in a truck and they're like, we're going to kill him if you don't do this. Go. Like, shit. Like, there wasn't even, you didn't even get the moment of the confrontation. It's just like, wow, this movie, I mean, there's lean and then there's lean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is that brief moment of confusion where you're like, oh, why is he in the truck now? And then you just get them on the video being like, yeah, if you don't do this, we're going to kill May. All right, that's why he's in the truck. Fair.
Yeah. Shit. Okay, guess I'm doing this. Here we go. It's so great. And this is one of the, throughout Jackie's career, there are the big set pieces that you talk about in terms of just how did you ever think this up? How did you orchestrate this? You've got the helicopter, the train, the car chase, the motorcycle, all the elements of this thing. The way he layers them in, the way they're all structured, the way they start paying each other off, man, it is a masterpiece. And I say that without any irony. I think this is, in terms of action, staging, shooting, conception, the stunt work, and to have your lead actors doing 99% of everything, it's truly unparalleled. James Cameron must look at this and cry. He must just cry like a baby.
Cry himself to sleep at night on his pillow made of money.
I could never.
No, because like watching, especially when she jumps onto the train, it made me think about like the latter Die Hard movies of just like, this is what it looks like when you actually like think about how, like, have a crazy idea and then couch it in the physical universe, as opposed to let's fly a plane through a helicopter or whatever it was. Like,
say what you will. But she jumps a motorcycle onto a train. And we watch it with our eyeballs, and it happens. And the first time you see it, it's mind-boggling. The 15th time you see it, it's mind-boggling. There are certain things that as you get older and you see them over and over, they kind of lose their luster. I don't think there's anything about this train scene that does that. I watched it again this morning, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
As the kids say, it slaps.
Like you mentioned before, that, you know, one of the interesting things about this movie is like it's really an equal partnership. So like some of the most memorable moments throughout these many action sequences are Michelle Yeoh moments, and particularly the jump onto the train, but also like hanging off the roof of the van, and like her jump from the van onto the car, and like some of the moments you remember the most is the Michelle Yeoh moments.
Oh man, the hit when she goes off of the truck into the car window.
Yeah,
and Jackie, and then rolls up the front. Yeah. Jesus, that is heart-stopping. And yeah, I have to imagine if I were the director of this movie and you were to see the raw takes, after every time you hear me yell cut, you'd also hear me go, "Oh, Jesus Christ, is she okay?" Oh my God, it's terrifying.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love
that. Must have been most of the third act of this movie is just people going like, "Oh Jesus, are they still alive?"
And I love I think the shooting of the helicopter stuff. I assume he is, of course, harnessed somehow to the ladder while they're flying him. Even so, oh my God. That activates every fear center I possess.
That is in those like end credits kind of outtake reel. You see him going up on that, the rope ladder, and like, he must be harnessed, but
he must.
You cannot see it from that, like, when they're shooting. You're just like, I don't know where it is.
He's a crazy person. He's such a crazy person.
Yeah.
And I think the outtakes, I feel like the outtakes are terrorism in Jackie Chan films. And some of them, the stuff that they put in, it's terrifying enough when you see the takes that work. When you see the takes that don't work, you feel bad that you bought a ticket. It's like, I'm so sorry. I don't want to encourage him. I don't want him to smash his head like an egg for me. I feel terrible. Oh my God.
Right.
But he is crazy. He is certifiably insane. And truly one of the singular movie stars. I think he combines, you know, all the best of, I know the comparison gets made over and over to Buster Keaton, and deservedly. I think the physical language of what they do is very similar, but it's the entire idea of what silent film stars did. He is a complete physical movie star and unique. I think that's what's special is there's good Jackie Chan films and bad Jackie Chan films, but in all of them you have Jackie Chan, who is this remarkable thing. And I love that his real talent was finding other remarkable people who were willing to die on camera and harness that in service of something really remarkable and special. And I think this is one of the movies where all of the combinations work, all of the chemistry works, man. It may not be his best film. I don't think it's his best film by a long shot, but it's one of the easy to digest, great Jackie Chan films.
And like, one of the things that I find most remarkable about actors, you know, at some point I realized, just in talking to actors, that like, you're at the mercy of how light hits your skin. You know, it's just like, so, I knew an actress who was going up for the same roles as Emma Stone a lot, and Emma was getting them. And it's just like, they look very similar if you're sitting at a table with them, but you start up a camera and turn on some lights and they look totally different. And the absurd amount of self-awareness that some of these, especially stars, have of not just how does my face look, in this context, but also like, how do words sound coming out of my mouth? Like, he has such a clear understanding of his entire being. So he has that kind of affable, charming puppy dog, energy that he brings to so much, where, especially, you put him next to Michelle Yeoh, who is very, very serious, very like straightforward. And it just works perfectly because those energies find a way to balance, and think about how many, Channing Tatum is one that I think like has become so much more, has become stronger and, much more, recognized or appreciated as his awareness of himself grew.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think that's either if you are lucky enough to figure it out, and if you are lucky enough to be one of those people who the camera adores, it can be very powerful. And I think that that's the benefit of this one, is it gets a double dose of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting you used Channing Tatum as an example there, Adam, because I was thinking, because like you say, that's somebody who's obviously, he has a kind of star power because, like, he's a good looking guy or whatever, but like, he had that moment where it's kind of like, he had, he sort of had a self-awareness of like, what he can do and like what he can kind of bring to the table. Cause I remember like having a big kind of like aha moment in terms of like, I don't know, I remember going into like 21 Jump Street with very low expectations of just being like, I guess this film will be fine. I don't know, like, I'm not a big fan of Channing Tatum, like, Jonah Hill, I quite like him, okay, I'll give it a punt, went to see it, there wasn't much on at the cinema, and I came out of that movie, like, it's still one of the most surprising experiences at the cinema for me, because I was like, that was great, and Lord and Miller did that to me again with the Lego movie as well. I was like, didn't have any
They're very good at
expectation, I was
surprising
like,
you.
fucking hell, that was great.
Yeah. Well, cause he had, he worked with Soderbergh, and, Soderbergh, I think it was Soderbergh that talked about, like, they were just at lunch one day. They were, he and Channing Tatum were just at lunch talking, and Channing told him about his background and had all these amazing stories. And it was just like, at the time, kind of leading up to or at the time of Haywire, like what he'd made before, Channing Tatum basically seemed like a precious metal that could act. And by humanizing him, Magic Mike moved the needle so much on him of just like, oh, he actually is a person. Mm-hmm. Like, he isn't just, someone who wears clothes very well, or, and Soderbergh does that, where he just like, he gets curious about something and then like, let's show the world why I think this is interesting. And
I think one of the reasons that this film is a huge jump forward in terms of, and not just for the combination of these two, but in terms of performance mattering. Performance matters on all of Jackie Chan's films, clearly, but Hong Kong largely overdubbed everything. And there was a switch over to the actual process of making movies like movies, where you record sound on set and you actually record the performance live versus building it all later vocally. And this was the movie where they did that. And it really does make a difference. The chemistry between Jackie and Michelle is the real chemistry from the set versus something that had to be reproduced later. And I think it reads. It's one of the reasons I feel like this film may have really felt different to an audience that was used to Jackie's movies before this.
Yeah, that's true. And it makes a difference because like most of the other actors are being dubbed by other people, but Jackie and Michelle are dubbed themselves.
Yeah, and in the original, just to hear them together and to hear it really be them together, it's great. Like, they have such a natural, easy chemistry immediately.
Right.
Also, I just wanted to, I was just thinking about something. Do you think that this movie is maybe more accessible, particularly in the 90s, was maybe more accessible to American audiences because the action feels quite American? And for a Jackie Chan movie, the quotient of martial arts scenes is actually quite low.
Oh, I think that's absolutely, it's a huge advantage. And it was a complaint for people that were Jackie Chan fans about this film.
And it's still a complaint. Some people still aren't massive on this movie because the action is kind of Americanized, and there is very few martial art fights.
But there are so many great Jackie Chan films that are martial arts fights oriented. If I want that, I'll go watch Drunken Master 2. And I'll watch the last act of that movie, and I will watch the most amazing martial arts fight I've ever seen Jackie Chan do. There are movies that do that. And so I don't mind that this one has the emphasis on a different kind of stunt work and a different kind of action, because I just think that's what they leaned into. Sure. It's not like they have fights in the movie, but they're bad fights. It's not like Jackie just showed up and phoned in a bunch of terrible martial arts. It's just not that film. And I understand if that's what you wanted. And I understand even that Police Story and Police Story 2 set a different table. But, sometimes a sequel switches tone. And if you can go with it and it works for you, great. And if not, then I don't know. It's probably very disconcerting. I'm sure there's fans who bounce off this one. Oh my God, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm like you. I like this movie. It gives you a different flavor. If I want that flavor of Jackie Chan, there is the Drunken Master films. I have a fondness for Young Master. Like I said at the start of the episode, there's a bunch of martial arts orientated films that I can get that from. And like you say, the brief moments of martial arts in this movie aren't like shitty fights or anything. The fight with the military instructor is fun, and the fight on top of the train's quite fun as well, even though they're very short interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really, and I love the fact that you got the spinning helicopter blades on top of the train, and it's a great setting for that final fight. So when it happens, I'm glad that it's not nonstop throughout the film. When we get it, it's special, it's cool, it's that one great scene.
And just to kind of finish off where we're at with the movie, because we're pretty much at the end, Chai Bat's death is hilarious.
It really is.
That's a good measurement for a villain death. How good is it? It's extra hilarious. And it so is. Good. He eats shit. It is really bad and delightful. And he earns it too. By the time he goes, you're like, yep, you 100% had that coming, buddy.
And it's one of those great villain reactions. Obviously there's the kind of iconic kind of villain reaction faces, like Alan Rickman falling off the Nakatomi Towers and Die Hard and stuff like that. And it is one of the all-time great villain reaction faces when Kenneth Science, he realizes, oh no, I'm going to go head first into a flaming helicopter. Fuck. Yep.
And not to rush past that, but the very end of the movie, again, I was just cackling with laughter because the movie just ends. It's like Whiplash. It just pieces right out.
Dude, I love movies that do that. I love movies that have 14 seconds of closing credits.
Because you get the really lovely thing of Michelle Yeoh catches Chappelle's wife, and Jackie Chan has to catch her, and then it ends up being inverted in the very end, and then they all they're just sitting there, and I like that the villain's wife is just yeah, you caught me, you can have my money now, and that you get that little moment of oh, does it go to China or Hong Kong? It's we'll never know, and then just Tom Jones.
And it does feel very much like a Bond movie in that they kind of just put a punchline on it, except it's not a punchline about Bond getting laid. It's a punchline about China or Hong Kong getting money. It's
right.
But it's very much the same structure of here's your joke, here's your button, get out.
Yeah.
And
now you get to watch how insane it is that we make these things.
And when she misses the train, it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I could direct it. I honestly, just having been on set for giant stunt sequences and giant action sequences, I think you got to be wired a certain way to be able to do it well and to not just be heartsick the whole time because I would be terrified. I am terrified just watching this stuff. And these behind the scenes, like I said, they are, I know they're hilarious and wild but they are also just plain anxiety inducing.
Right.
On some of the films, the Armor of God ones I remember as being particularly rough at times.
Mm. I remember reading his autobiography, Jackie Chan, My Life in Pictures, and just explaining all his injuries he got on various things. It's just been like, Jesus, you are just wired differently. This is just, I could not put myself through any of this.
No.
I know it's going to sound like all roads lead to Mission Impossible for me, but Macquarie talks about like, when they say, how do you get insurance? He's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't go to that meeting. Like, that is somebody's job, and I let them do their job, and I don't worry about it. Otherwise, I would never sleep at night, and this movie would never get made. And I remember, like, the story of, Tom Cruise being attached to the plane at the start of Rogue Nation, and they put the special contacts into his eyes because of the wind pressure. And then somebody just like makes, I think it's on the Blu-ray, somebody just makes the like random comment that like, if there's a bird, he's dead, right? And it's just like, we're really trying to not think about that right now. And like,
the fear. The fear. No, thank you.
Has no stunts, but like I remember like being in the process of making it and reading about like Jennifer Lawrence fracturing a rib on Mother, and just like how bad I would feel if somebody had gotten hurt on my movie. And like I mean, you do just have to be like, well, if we're doing that, I'm sure there's a protocol, and okay.
And you got to know that the people that you hire are totally great at their jobs. That's when I was on set for Kick-Ass, the first one, and I was watching Brad Allen build the fight scenes. And Brad Allen learned from Jackie Chan. He's the I'm sure both of you guys know this, but he's the one Westerner that the one white guy that ever really got to train for the Jackie Chan stunt team and be part of the Jackie Chan stunt team. And so when he moved on to fight choreography and fight planning, it's the Jackie Chan philosophy. And you look at his fights in Kick-Ass or in the Kingsman movies or, the Shang-Chi just recently, and you see everything Brad absorbed from Jackie in terms of using props and using settings and putting comic beats and storytelling into the fights themselves. And all of that comes with this hyper awareness of safety. And I find that fascinating to be able to stage stuff that looks terrifying and deadly and dangerous, and yet safety is foremost in your mind at all times, and how to do this so that everybody goes home at night. I think it's really remarkable when people are great at that gig, man.
Yeah, so much of art in general is fascinatingly dedicated mania.
Also, to go back on your point, Adam, about like you were talking about like Macquarie being like, oh, he doesn't go to that meeting about insurance. Having read a bunch about the Hong Kong film industry in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I think the insurance just didn't exist. I'm not sure there was any insurance.
It was very Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies.
It's much more akin to the U.S. silent industry, where D.W. Griffith would start the morning by saying, I'll give $10 to any man who's willing to die on camera. And you just round people up and, it was just unregulated and crazy, and just whatever happened. And I do feel like, Hollywood hasn't been that in a long time, or is not supposed to be that. Occasionally, obviously, it is still. But I think that, that when you see those eras of filmmaking, when you see this era of Hong Kong filmmaking, part of what's remarkable is in going back and looking at it is they'd never, ever be able to do it again. You'll never, ever get to have that film industry again. It's of a moment, and I love that we have it on film, but holy shit, you all were crazy.
Interestingly, it's kind of a matter of respect, because I was just thinking about how, as we are having more issues now, it's because of this deregulation that's happening because of a new, a new set of production. That streamers feel like they don't want to admit that they're the same old thing. So you have all these, you're constantly retrofitting rules and whatnot. And they don't want to pay anybody. So you get people who've never done things before. So they don't really have a respect. And here, because the incident on Rust just happened, and that's a Netflix production. Like it's
on everybody's mind when you're thinking about this stuff. You can't think about stunts and stunt filmmaking right now and not think about that. And when you look at, the Jackie Chan school, these guys that work on Mission, like, the people that really respect the process and the craft of it and that take the time to work through, like you just said, to build a scene, to build a fight scene, and to just make sure that every single part of it, like, yeah, you're wanting it to seem spontaneous, obviously, but it can't be. You can't have a spontaneous fight. Right.
And yeah, like, I think these companies just need to be called out that, they have no respect for the process and that it's actually hurting and killing people. And it is their fault. It is, they want to lay it at the feet of the most junior member on the crew because, I would never, like, it was her first gig and, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no. Like, somebody hired her, somebody made that decision, and they made that decision because of money. And what you're saying is that this person's life wasn't worth the amount of making sure this is done right and properly.
Yeah,
like people need to.
You need proper craftspeople in these roles because, like you were saying, like with the stunts and the fight choreography, these are proper craftspeople. They know what they're doing. They know how to make things safe, and they also know how to make things look good on camera. Because, movie martial arts isn't the same as real martial arts. You watch like a martial arts tournament, it's not the same. Because a lot of kind of realistic martial arts, realistic fighting doesn't necessarily look flashy or good on camera. So they know what they're doing, and you're gonna let these people who are at the top of their game, have these roles. They're
the idea that no one died during the shooting of Fury Road, with how much of that was practical, the insane shit.
The idea that no one died, the idea that not everyone died shooting the polecat sequence in Fury Road, is remarkable. Much less one person. All of you should be dead. None of that is rational or possible.
No.
But yeah, that's what happens when you spend 5 or 6 years thinking about something and planning something and obsessing over something in order to pull it off in the real world. Yeah. Well, these movies, thank you so much for letting me. I do not rewatch Jackie Chan's films enough. I went through a mania. I went through a period where I was so crazy about him. And I ingested everything, and I don't watch his films very often anymore. When I show my kids, when I introduce them to one, I will, but it's a very good excuse to get up on a Saturday and break one out and really just remember why he is one of the greatest movie stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love my rewatch of it as well. Kind of the same, I suppose, because with the horror podcast, I got more into horror and stuff like that. So I watch a lot of that, and I loved his movies as a kid, and I've in recent years I haven't gone back and rewatched his movies as much as I did, particularly in my teens. And it was so it was great to have you on the show, and it was great to talk about this movie, and I think I should start rewatching some more Jackie Chan, because it really brought up that kind of childhood love of Jackie Chan for me. So this was a real fun one for me too.
It is like a Saturday morning cartoon almost. I like that you're waking up on Saturdays and throwing it in. That makes me think I should make these Saturday morning viewings.
For sure. You should watch the other stories. Yeah, watch the other police stories in the same way, because you'll have a lot of fun with them. But before we kind of wrap this up, do either of you guys have anything to promote?
Well, Drew certainly does.
Yes, because your thing will be out when this episode is out. It will already be out in the atmosphere.
I love that. I love that finally I'm in a place where I can say all you got to do. Open up Netflix and look for a show called VOIR, Voix, produced by David Fincher and David Pryor. It is a 6-part series of deep dive film essays just about the love of cinema. I think we've all been missing the movies and going to the movies for the last couple of years. It was weird during the pandemic. I've not gone more than 6 days in my life since I was 7 years old without being in a movie theater. And then to go 18 months without being in one, it disconnected something in me. It was really weird. So I love that now they're finally putting this out. It is something that I'm really proud of. I have one of the episodes. I star in it. I wrote it. I produced it. David Pryor directed it. And I hope you guys watch, because if you do, we will get to make more, and they'll be great. Also, please read my newsletters. I am at drewmcweeny.substack.com. That is my newsletter, Formerly Dangerous, which is current movie reviews. You can read me weeping about the new Ghostbusters movie if you'd like, or just various pop culture things that are happening. I write about games. I write about books. I write about television as well. And then I also publish the last 80s newsletter.substack.com, which is the last 80s newsletter you'll ever need. I am currently reviewing every single film released in America in the 1980s. And I started at the beginning. I am chronologically up to June 1980 right now. Later today, I'm publishing my piece on the Blues Brothers. So please sign up for that one as well. And that's it right now.
Excellent. Adam?
Yeah. So if you like a Ghost Waits, we now have a merch store. You can go to bonfire.com/a-ghost-waits. There's a bunch of shirts. There's some coffee mugs. And then we're also going to be doing like limited edition runs of certain designs that some artists have contributed. And yeah, it's just, we've been really overwhelmed by the response to the film. Letterboxd has their ongoing top 25 horror films of the year, and we're number 12 on it. And as a friend said the other night, holy crap, there's real movies on this list. We've been really overwhelmed by the response, and just, it's finally winding down. There's no more Ghost Waits events on the calendar as of right now. And so just kind of, it was like a thing that we wanted to do of like, well, people really love this. So let's let's put this out there and give them a way to share, sharing it more. And, if they want to, for anyone, So if you want any of that stuff, like I said, bonfire.com/a-ghost-waits. McLeod and I are on Twitter and Instagram. I don't know. Just thanks, guys. Like the last couple years, it's weird, Scott. Like you've become like, I talk to you more than I talk to my father. But
about the exact same things. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. He also doesn't want me to talk about Quantum of Solace. No, like I realized the other night that I finally am the person I always wanted to be, and existentially, that's a really, really awesome thing to realize and to feel. And you guys have really been a part of it. So I don't know. I get a little emotional thinking about it, but I just want to thank you all very much.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Adam. And we'll talk more about that off air. It really kind of hit me hard. I kind of don't know how to respond to that. I suppose I have to wrap up the show. Hey,
we got it in under 2 hours.
Review and subscribe, it seems weird to promote the show now. Check us out on Twitter at 90s Action. I don't know. Thanks for listening, guys. And tune in next time when we'll be talking about another Jackie Chan movie, Mr. Nice Guy.
Hi, everybody.
Nice.